Something unprecedented is happening in the dating market, and the rage it's generating tells you everything you need to know about how close to the truth we're getting. Millions of men over 35, successful men, stable men, men who've built something real, are systematically choosing women 10, 15, even 20 years younger than themselves. And the narrative you're being fed about why this happens is completely wrong. They say it's about looks. They say men are shallow, immature, afraid of women their own age who know what they want. They say it's predatory, pathetic, a midlife crisis in human form. But I'm going to tell you what's really happening. And it has nothing to do with physical appearance. This is about something far deeper, far more uncomfortable, and absolutely undeniable once you see it. Men aren't choosing younger women because they're prettier. They're choosing them because they haven't been destroyed yet. They haven't been hardened into concrete. They haven't replaced femininity with weaponized independence. They haven't spent 15 years accumulating resentment and turning every interaction into a battlefield. The man who chooses a 28-year-old over a 40-year-old isn't running from wrinkles. He's running from war. Let me be clear about what I'm saying here. This isn't an attack on women over a certain age. This is an observation about what happens when pain turns into policy, when hurt becomes identity, when the soft becomes sharp, because that transformation, that hardening, it doesn't happen to everyone, but it happens to enough women that men have started calculating the odds and deciding the risk isn't worth it. The 40-year-old man who dates a 25-year-old woman isn't looking for someone naive or easy to control. He's looking for someone who still knows how to receive, someone who hasn't been programmed to see every gesture as manipulation, every compliment as a trap, every moment of leadership as oppression. He's looking for someone whose first response to his presence isn't suspicion, defensiveness, or a mental checklist of every man who disappointed her before him. Here's what nobody wants to admit. Many women, by the time they reach their mid to late 30s, have become psychologically exhausting to be around, not because they're older, not because they're less attractive, but because they've replaced partnership with competition, replaced trust with constant testing, replaced grace with grudges that have nothing to do with the man standing in front of them. I know a man, early 40s, divorced, rebuilt his life completely. He tried dating women his age, professional women, successful women, women who had their lives together on paper. Every single one of them treated the first date like a job interview, where he was already failing. One of them spent 2 hours listing everything wrong with her ex-husband, then asked him what made him think he'd be different. Another kept mentioning her busy schedule, her full life, how she didn't need a man, then got angry when he didn't chase harder. A third one tested every single thing he said, looking for red flags, waiting for him to reveal himself as another disappointment. Then he met someone younger, not because he was specifically looking for younger, but because she happened to be younger, and the difference was staggering. She listened when he spoke, she smiled genuinely, she appreciated effort instead of measuring it against some invisible standard. She didn't bring the ghosts of her past relationships into every conversation. She saw him as an individual, not as a representative of all men who had ever disappointed all women throughout history. This is the pattern men are recognizing everywhere. Younger women, generally, haven't yet built the fortress. They haven't yet convinced themselves that being hard is the same as being strong. They haven't yet traded femininity for the appearance of invulnerability. They can still soften, they can still yield, they can still make a man feel like his presence adds something instead of like he's constantly defending himself against crimes he didn't commit. The exhaustion men feel isn't about age, it's about energy. It's about coming home and not knowing which woman you're going to get. The one who's pleasant, or the one who's been stewing about something all day and is ready to unleash it the moment you walk through the door. It's about every conversation becoming a negotiation, every decision becoming a power struggle, every interaction requiring you to navigate an emotional minefield you didn't create and don't understand. Women in their 20s, for better or worse, generally haven't reached that point yet. They haven't been disappointed enough times to assume you're disappointing. They haven't been hurt enough to assume you're going to hurt them. They haven't built defense mechanisms so thick that genuine connection becomes impossible. They're still capable of admiration. And men, contrary to what you've been told, don't want worship. They want admiration. There's a difference. Admiration is seeing the good in someone and appreciating it. Worship is blind devotion. Men don't want the second, but they desperately want the first. And somewhere between 25 and 40, many women lose the ability to admire men at all. Every positive quality gets reframed as compensation for something negative. He's successful? probably a workaholic who'll neglect the family. He's attentive, probably love bombing before the control starts. He's confident, probably arrogant. He's humble, probably insecure. This constant negative interpretation, this inability to see anything good without immediately searching for the hidden bad, it destroys relationships before they begin, and men are tired of it. They're tired of being guilty until proven innocent, tired of being measured against phantom competitors who exist only in her mind, tired of paying emotional debts they didn't incur. The script has been flipped on men so thoroughly that expressing preference has become transgressive. A woman can say she wants a man over 6 feet, making 6 figures, with a full head of hair and a specific personality type. That's knowing her worth. A man says he prefers femininity, softness, someone who hasn't spent a decade building walls. Suddenly he's immature, threatened by strong women, can't handle a real woman. But here's the truth that nobody wants to say out loud. Strength in a woman isn't the same as hardness. Real strength is being soft without being weak. Real strength is being open despite past hurt. Real strength is choosing trust over suspicion. What's being called strength in many modern women is actually just trauma, presenting as personality. It's defense mechanisms that have calcified into character, and men can feel the difference immediately. When a 40-year-old man sits across from a 40-year-old woman on a first date and feels like he's being interrogated by someone who's already decided he's guilty, when every story she tells is about being wronged, when every question is designed to catch him in some imagined lie, when her entire presence communicates that she's doing him a favor by even being there, he's not thinking about her age, he's thinking about his peace, and he's calculating whether this person will add to his life or subtract from it. Then he meets someone younger who hasn't been through that particular meat grinder yet. Someone who can still laugh without it being a test. Someone who can accept a compliment without searching for the manipulation behind it. Someone whose default setting isn't suspicion, and the choice becomes obvious. It's not about her body, it's about her spirit. It's not about her face, it's about her energy. The really uncomfortable truth is that femininity isn't about age. It's about approach. It's about how you move through the world. And many women by their mid-30s have completely abandoned femininity in favor of what they've been told is empowerment. They've traded softness for edges, receptivity for resistance, grace for grinding. They walk into interactions already in fight mode, already defensive, already positioned as adversaries rather than allies. I'll watch this happen in real time. A man meets a woman. She immediately starts talking about boundaries, about what she won't tolerate, about her standards. She positions herself as the prize, while simultaneously communicating that he's on trial. She talks about equality, while expecting him to lead, provide and pursue, but only in ways she approves of, which she won't clearly communicate, because he should just know. She wants traditional benefits with modern freedoms, and gets angry when he can't read her mind about which role to play in which moment. Compare that to a younger woman who simply enjoys the interaction, who's present, who's curious about him as a person, rather than as a potential failure, who hasn't yet learned to see every date as a battlefield. The contrast isn't subtle, it's blinding, and men are responding accordingly, not because they're shallow, but because they're exhausted. The economic calculation matters too, but not how you think. Older women often bring financial success, which is great, but they also bring expectations proportional to that success. Suddenly, his income isn't enough unless it matches or exceeds hers. His career isn't impressive unless it's more impressive than hers. His ambitions aren't valid unless they align with her timeline. He's competing with her even when he thought they were supposed to be on the same team. Younger women, generally, haven't built that comparative framework yet. They're not measuring everything against their own achievement. They can actually be happy for his success without feeling diminished by it. They can support without competing. They can admire without keeping score. This isn't about them being less ambitious or successful. It's about them not having turned every aspect of life into a competition with their partner. There's this thing that happens when women accumulate relationship experience. They start pattern matching. He said this, and my ex said this, and they both turned out to be liars. He's being nice now, but my ex was nice at first too. He wants time with his friends, just like every man who ever prioritized his boys over me. The pattern matching becomes so aggressive that the current man disappears entirely. He's not seen as an individual. He's seen as the latest iteration of every man who came before. And how do you build something real with someone who can't see you? Men feel this. They feel the ghost comparisons. They feel being measured against men they've never met for crimes they didn't commit. They feel the impossibility of ever being enough when enough is defined by healing wounds they didn't create, and they're walking away from it, not because they can't handle complexity, but because they refuse to be punished for someone else's sins. The younger woman doesn't bring that baggage. She meets you as you. She doesn't have 15 years of failed relationships coloring every interaction. She doesn't have a catalogue of male behaviors to vigilantly watch for. She doesn't have the cynicism that comes from repeated disappointment. She still believes in possibility, and that openness, that willingness to see the good first and the bad only if it actually appears, that's intoxicating to men who've been drowning in suspicion. This isn't about intelligence or life experience. Some of the most intelligent, experienced women are the ones who've stayed soft, who've been hurt, but didn't let hurt become their identity, who've seen the worst of men, but didn't decide all men are the worst, who maintain their femininity, not because they're weak, but because they're strong enough to remain vulnerable. Those women, regardless of age, never struggle to keep good men interested, because good men aren't looking for perfection, they're looking for peace. The crisis in modern relationships isn't that men are shallow, it's that women have been taught that everything feminine is weak, everything soft is foolish, everything trusting is naive. They've been taught to see partnership as a power struggle they need to win. They've been taught that a good man will prove himself by enduring their worst behavior, that testing is love, that making him jump through hoops is maintaining standards. And men have simply stopped jumping. They've looked at the hoops and decided the prize on the other side isn't worth the performance. They've calculated that a younger woman who actually likes them is better than an older woman who might respect them if they pass enough tests. They've chosen pleasant over proving themselves. And who can blame them? The tragedy isn't that men are choosing younger women. The tragedy is that older women have been convinced that the very qualities that would make them chosen are weaknesses to be eliminated. They've been told to be independent to the point of not needing anyone, then wonder why men don't feel needed. They've been told to be strong to the point of being inflexible, then wonder why men describe them as difficult. They've been told to have standards to the point of being impossible to please, then wonder why men stop trying. Meanwhile, younger women haven't been fully indoctrinated yet. They still know how to smile without it being a manipulation. They still know how to accept without it being submission. They still know how to soften without it being weakness. And men are choosing that energy because energy is what you live with. Energy is what comes home with you. Energy is what you wake up to. This isn't about looks fading. It's about light dimming. It's about watching someone you care about slowly transform from warm to cold, from open to closed, from partner to adversary. And it's about men deciding they'd rather be with someone who hasn't made that transformation yet, someone who might never make it if she's loved properly. The question isn't why men choose younger women. The question is why wouldn't they? Why would a man choose exhaustion over ease? Why would he choose being tested over being trusted? Why would he choose someone who sees him as representative of all male failures over someone who sees him as an individual? The math isn't complicated. The only mystery is why anyone acts surprised by the equation. Your peace matters, your preference matters, your experience of relationship matters. If that means choosing someone younger who brings lightness instead of someone older who brings fight, that's not immaturity. That's wisdom. That's choosing life over proving a point. That's refusing to sacrifice your well-being on the altar of someone else's expectations about who you should want. To the men reading this, share your stories, not to attack, but to reveal, because the pattern is undeniable once enough men speak it. And to the women who still have softness, who've maintained grace despite disappointment, who bring peace instead of war, you already know you never struggle to find good men, because good men are desperately searching for exactly what you offer. The truth is simple. Men don't fear strong women, they fear hard women, and there's a difference that makes all the difference.